The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, says he was completely unaware of allegations of extreme violence and physical abuse made against a former colleague who worked at a Christian summer camp for boys in the 1970s and 1980s. BBC News has spoken to the daughter of the man, a barrister called John Smythe, who says her father must face justice if the claims are borne out. Hampshire police are investigating the allegations, as our religious affairs correspondent Martin Bashir explains.
I'm John Smythe.
John Smythe, QC, now working in South Africa, is at the centre of allegations involving the abuse of young boys who were allegedly groomed at a series of summer camps in Dorset in the 1970s.
People matter to us very much.
The camps, which still take place every August, involved boys from the top 30 private schools in the country. They'd engage in activities during the day and then hear talks about the Christian faith during the evening. We've spoken to an alleged victim who would not appear on camera, but explained how he says the abuse would happen. He'd be invited to John Smythe's house in Winchester, where he would be asked about his personal prayer life. He was then asked if he masturbated. Upon confession, he would be beaten with a cane. The Ewan Trust, which oversaw the camps, was made aware of what victims say happened in Winchester in 1982, but decided not to inform the police. One of Smythe's closest friends, and part of the leadership team, defended their decision not to report the abuse.
We discussed telling the police. I wasn't part of that discussion, but the young men themselves didn't want to have their names mentioned. They had suffered enough at John Smythe's hands without wanting to the indignity of describing everything in court.
At the time, the Church of England had no safeguarding policy in place. The Archbishop of Canterbury, who also worked alongside John Smythe as a young leader, says he knew nothing of the alleged abuse until 2013.
I was 19, 20 years old. I was a junior leader in a camp. These were the senior leaders. I wasn't part of the inner circle. The churches should be held to a higher standard than anyone else, and we've failed in that. And that's a terrible, terrible thing.
Late this afternoon, one of Mr. Smythe's daughters gave the BBC an interview in which she said that her father should be made to account for his actions.
I will always love my father. However, if these allegations are true, I do think he will have to face justice, and that will be painful for everyone involved. But I believe strongly in justice, and I would want that for someone who had done that to my child.
We approached Mr. Smythe at his home in Cape Town, South Africa, but he refused to answer our questions. Tonight, Hampshire police announced they're investigating these allegations of abuse and appealed to victims to come forward. Martin Bashir, BBC News.